All right, welcome everyone to our first of what I hope will be many joint PTO nights. Come on in. This is better turnout than I was expecting, so I'm super jazzed, and I'm sure some more people will trickle in. I'm Melissa Massardo. I'm on the PTO at Fox Hill, but we have all 4 elementary school PTOs represented here. Thank you all. This idea came from a joint PTO meeting we had in April or May, and we were, I think all 4 of us were struggling with PTO events attendance, and I think Memorial and Fox Hill had the same event like week after week, and 2 people showed at each. So we were like, okay, let's not make these poor officers come and speak to 2 people at a time. So let's have a joint one where parents can meet each other. We can get more email names, and I talked to like 2 kindergarten parents, so welcome kindergarten parents, so we can just get more people engaged. I have a kindergartner and a 3rd grader, so I'll be here for a little while, but we need new parents helping and being involved. I'm also on the wellness committee in the district, and one of the tasks for the district was just to increase parental engagement overall. So that was another reason we had this event. So thank you all for coming out. I hope you had some food. Thank you to the Burlington Breakfast Rotary Club who donated the food. That was really awesome of you. So tonight we have 2 speakers. We have Detective Pat Lyons from the Burlington Police Department, and we have Christine Concession, the Director of Mental Health at the Burlington School District. The goal tonight is really so that you walk away knowing how your children are kept safe physically in the schools and also kept feeling safe in our schools, and so that you feel confident when you send them out every morning that this district is well taken care of. So I think they both have time for Q&A. So please feel free to make this a little bit interactive. Thank you both for agreeing to speak, and I will hand it off.
Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Detective Lyons. As Ms. Massardo said, I am the Youth Services Detective with the Burlington Police Department. What exactly does that mean? That means that I handle any and all investigations with individuals underneath the age of 18. I'm also the school resource officer at the high school. I am directly involved with some other members of my team over here with all the standard response protocols, which we're going to go over tonight, that Burlington Public Schools uses in this community and that we follow. I'm going to kind of explain the basics to you tonight on how those work. In addition to that, I'm also the officer that goes out to Lowell Juvenile Court. If an individual makes a couple mistakes and maybe charges are appropriate, I would be the one that goes to the courthouse and delivers those charges and works with the court on basically a proper resolution to that incident. Like I said before, we're going to work on the standard response protocols. Here in Burlington, we follow the I Love You Guys Foundation. Go ahead, Chrissy, you good? Just a little background on the I Love You Guys Foundation. Last year, they flew out here and gave a huge presentation to people from all over the country. It was the best law enforcement training I have ever been to in my 12-and-a-half, almost 13-year career. This foundation was built after an active shooter that took place in Platte Canyon High School in Bailey, Colorado, where a girl named Emily Keys was killed, and her parents, John Michael and mother Ellen, were outside as this was happening. And the name I Love You Guys came from a text message back in 2006, which I was a sophomore in this school and I didn't know what a text message was. So, and the parents didn't really either, and they got a text message from their daughter, and the last thing she said was, "I love you guys." So that created this movement, this protocol. Go ahead, next one. So today, the I Love You Guys Foundation and programs for crisis response and post-crisis reunification are used in more than 45,000 schools, districts, departments, agencies, organizations, and communities around the world. So I spoke to them yesterday. I'm on a first-name basis with them at this point. It's actually up to 50,000. So this is the top-tier protocol for school safety. Okay, we follow it to a T. I would be what I would consider, and probably the school would consider, I'm the resident expert on it here in town and probably the department. I work with School Resource Officer Dom Colicchio and Assistant School Resource Officer Dan Murphy. We all kind of work as a team here throughout the school district. And Like I said, I'm at the high school. Those two are going to be more at the middle school and elementary schools. But we all work together. So if something's going on at one of their schools, I'm going to know about it. And if there's something going on at the high school, they're going to know about it. The I Love You Guys Foundation is built, they basically have their responses and their documentation is not created by just random people. This is by psychologists, public safety experts that have countless years of experience. The families of those affected and the families of those that may have been there or they may have lost a child, they're all involved, administrators, and first responders. This is what I call the starting five, okay? This is the building blocks of this process. We're gonna go over these 5 things. So tonight, if you take anything from this, just remember these 5 things, and I'm gonna go through each one. Each one of these 5 symbols and words, they have a different meaning and things that call for different action within the school. So the big ones are hold, secure, lockdown, evacuate, and shelter. The big ones are hold, secure, and lockdown. Those are the big 3. Evacuate and shelter, they come into play. But as you'll see, we kind of live in the Northeast, so some things happen in different parts of the world that don't always happen here. First one, hold. So underneath the word hold, you'll see hold in your room or area and clear the halls in quotes. That's something that would be said as a public address over the PA by Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Sheehan, Ms. Northrup. That could be probably called by me. And during a hold, the teachers are going to stick their head out, open the door, they're going to sweep the hallway to see if there's any kids. Hey, come on in here for a minute. Okay, we're going to clear the rooms. All the students remain in the classroom until the hold is released. If they're outside of gym class, they're going to stay outside of gym class. Okay, business as usual in the classroom, and it would be cleared through a public address. The hold is released, all clear. Now, if there's any deviation from the norm in a school day, I know it probably sets some sort of nerves to the parents, right? If there's, hey, my kid, hey, there's just something went on. I don't know what's going on to mom. And then mom's sitting there blind or dad's sitting there blind, like, what the heck is going on today? That anxiety level can go up just from a text, right? The communication that is sent from a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid to mom is going to send mom or dad into the stratosphere potentially, and it could be something very basic. When would this be called? An altercation in the hallway. If we're at Fox Hill and little Johnny decides that he has a stomachache, projectile vomits down the middle of the hallway, and we're about to change classes, probably a bad day for 25 to 50 little feet to traipse that vomit all throughout the school. Not a bad time to call a hold. There's been a few times in the high school where I've almost called a hold, because we could probably all agree that kids can be mean sometimes. So what if high school students having a medical episode in the nurse's office and they're emotional, they're upset, they got to go to the hospital? Do I want to risk that kid being wheeled out in a stretcher and having 25 of his classmates seeing him or her like that? I don't want to do that to that kid. So I'm going to think 2 steps ahead of that and say, yeah, you know what, just hold him in the class until this kid gets out of here. Give him that piece of dignity, because we know kids can be mean. It is what it is, right? We want to prevent it, but if a kid's having a bad day, that's just an example of maybe how this would happen. All these things are listed are from the website too, so some of the things would affect us, and you'll see in some of the other slides that I'll be able to tell you, like, that's not going to take place here. Unfinished maintenance operation, I don't think Mr. Gamley's got anything planned. We got to lock down the school or do anything like that. So it would just be pretty simple. And these are brief too, because when they are put into a hold, nothing changes inside the classroom. We just don't want you walking in the hallway because we're dealing with something. It is very simple. It's not one of the ones where the initial, nerves need to set in. It's just, hey, hold tight for a minute. Somebody could have spilt paint down the hallway, and now the whole floor is, white or green instead of being the gray that we want it to be. Secure. Secure, get inside, lock outside doors would be the PA announcement, again, conducted by members of the admin staff. This is called when there's a threat or hazard outside of the building. So if you can track me here, we're going to use this building as our protection because something is going on outside. No one is allowed inside or out of the building when we are insecure. That is very important. So if you're showing up to pick up your kid and we are insecure, no one's coming in until we get this thing settled. And we do not want the kids running out, and there's a reason for that. We're locking all outside access points. So it's on the school teachers and the members of the BPS, the Burlington Public School Department, when this is called, to secure the doors if they're already not. The doors are locked on the building during the day. You can't just walk into Burlington High School, open up the gym door and walk in. It's locked. Class or recess or anything that's outside, they're coming right inside. And we're going to bring them in, and then they're going to continue as they would inside of the classroom. There's going to be an increased presence of us, the police. And usually, when a secure is called, not all the time, but usually the information is going to come from the station to me directly, or to SRO Colicchio or SRO Murphy, and we are going to put the school into a secure. That could be something that's going on out at maybe up on the highway, and I know our authorized person on school grounds, we don't know who this person is, it's just walking around. Again, dangerous animal around the grounds. When I was here, there was a moose on the loose, so anything could happen, I guess you could say. But again, other parts of the country, they have like bobcats, mountain lions, can get a little crazy, but criminal activity in the area, things happen. Just a thought, if a chase comes off the highway and the cars crash and the guy gets out and runs down 123 Cambridge Street, yeah, I'm probably going to put the school in secure until we get that guy out of here so he doesn't try to blend in with a gym class or something like that. It says planned police activity in the neighborhood. That's not going to happen. We're not going to do something on the law enforcement side that's going to impact the school day prior. This is pretty important that I want you guys all to understand. During a hold, the halls are all cleared, students remain in their classroom with their teachers, and business is as usual. If people are outside, they stay outside. During a secure, people are brought inside, all activities inside the school continue as usual, but nobody is allowed to interrupt. So what I like to tell my little guys that I talk to in the community and the teachers, the best way to explain this is like the castles way back in ancient times. Those things are beautiful and awesome like schools nowadays. And when the enemy showed up, they pulled up the drawbridge and they used that castle to protect themselves. That's kind of what we do with this. We use this building and we basically lock it down from the outside in, but we let the business inside of the school continue to not interrupt the kids' day. Like, I'm sure the kids are going to then send a text to mom and dad, what's going on? We're racing a text message, the police. We're trying to race a text message. This is impossible. Nobody's that fast. And nobody's as fast as a kid texting, by the way. I mean, you've all seen it. You all have them. They can text faster. They can make your phone ding 15 times in a second. I see it every day at the high school, so I kind of get the understanding of it. But we're going to get you the information as fast as we can as we gather it, because these are moving situations. This isn't something that we can have happen in 30 seconds and send a message out. The worst in information is misinformation. And we want to make sure when we do send you something, or the school sends you something, it is accurate. And we are certain of it. Action 3, and this is the big one, lockdown. Locks, lights, out of sight. When a lockdown is initiated in this school, it goes over the PA. It is not a voice. It's not me or a person. It's our system. It says lockdown, locks, lights, out of sight. And it repeats itself multiple times, over and over and over again. That could be for an active weapons threat inside or outside the building. We use the classrooms and school security actions to protect students and staff from the threat. So now, shrink it down. We use the school for secure. Now the lockdown, the threat could be inside the school. Now we use the classroom. And what we're going to do is we're going to use our safety measures, and the teachers are trained. I've spoken to all of them, all 400, 500, whatever they are, however many there are. I forget the exact number, last year, and I meet with them regularly. If they're concerned about this, they don't know where they're supposed to go, which we'll get into that, about their individual classroom and where they are the safest in that room during a lockdown. The action for the teachers is locking individual classroom doors, offices, and other securable areas, moving occupants out of the line of sight, or corridors, windows, turning off lights to make it seem unoccupied, and maintaining silence. So I know you're all aware of the lockdown that happened the other day. I was here, and I will tell you, you could hear a pin drop in this school. The kids listened to this stuff. This wasn't as, I don't want to say common, but it didn't happen as often when I was here. But the kids nowadays in high school, they don't mess around with this stuff. I see the kids every day. I talk to them every day. They don't mess with this stuff. And when the school went into lockdown, it was an intense few minutes, but a part of me is sitting there going, I was impressed with the kids and the teachers. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. You could hear a pin drop in this building. There is no call to action to lock exterior access points, which means we don't want people overexposing themselves. If there's a threat inside the building, they may not know where it is. We don't want them coming out into the hallway to lock a door and then leaving their room unoccupied or the door open. I just want to make sure that makes sense. We don't want them to expose themselves or the kids in the classroom to an unnecessary risk. So their responsibility, every individual teacher is responsible for their own classroom lockdown. Every classroom in this building is different. Some might be shaped similar. Some have more windows than others. Some have more doors than others. This building has been around a lot longer than I've been alive. And it was built in a time probably when this stuff wasn't going on. So we have to make the best of what we have. There's been advancements in technology and the systems that we use and the response tactics that we in the police department have and do that I think puts us ahead of the rest. If there's students or faculty outside in the hallway when this goes off, and they're kind of like standing there like, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do. They go to the nearest room. I want them to go, if they have to go into a bathroom, a classroom, underneath the stage, I want them to get to a safe place as fast as they can. Anyone can call a lockdown. So this right here is a blue button. They're scattered all throughout the school. These blue buttons are what get pressed that triggers that lockdown. So if there was an active threat in the school and a teacher saw it, they could walk by one of these and smack it or hit it, and it would trigger the lockdown like we had the other day. It would trigger the whole school to announce. And there's a lot of things that happen when these buttons are pressed. There's a lot of moving parts. And I like to tell people, when I explain the button when it is pressed, it's like a snowball rolling down the hill. And it's really tough to stop. So when this button is pressed, we call it in the police department a blue button activation. Within half a second of that button being hit, all of our police radios have the same alert. Everybody working in the police department that day with that radio on, whether it's a detail, whether it's shift, whether they're at the police department, wherever they are, if that radio is on, that alert is going to go to them within half a second of this one being hit. So if that teacher hits it, I'm going to find out, and everybody working on the street is going to find out. So all of us, everybody who's working, is now gearing up and coming here, or whatever school is impacted. So it's not just, I'm it. I'm not just it. I have a team over here of guys and girls that are coming to back me up at any school. And if it's at Fox Hill, we're all going to Fox Hill. If it's at Pine Glen, we're all going to Pine Glen. But we are told the exact second that is hit, all of us at the police department, working everywhere in the town, we are notified of this. It goes over our scanners. So other departments, neighboring departments are going to hear it as well. So the response is quick. And if you could try your best to put yourself in our shoes, we have guys that are working the street that are all spread throughout the sector of town. We have 3 sectors in Burlington that we break our community down into, and we have officers in each sector 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if that button gets hit and you get 2 guys at the mall, 1 guy at Francis Wyman, they're all going. If you're working, you're going. Okay? The lockdown last Tuesday, we even had one of our new guys running down the street. He's trying to get here as fast as he can. Good. So as I discussed in the classrooms, we have what we call safe zones. If a teacher has any questions about the safe zone, or they're concerned with they can't figure out what their safe zone is, myself, Officer Colicchio, Officer Murphy are more than happy to go into their individual classrooms. I sit with that teacher, the teacher of your kids, and I make sure that they are not 100% or as comfortable as they can be until I walk out. I'll break their classroom down and I'll say, based on what I think and my experience and my knowledge of this stuff, this is where you need to sit with your kids. Now, I'm sure everybody in this room can imagine there's a big difference between like a 2 or 3-year-old in BECC and a 17 or 18-year-old kid. Telling, 15 2 or 3-year-olds to sit still is pretty much a nightmare. Being a father of 3 under 5, I can tell you it doesn't happen in my house, and I don't know how they do it here. So they may have to use different measures to do that. Do I care if they sit down and they put on a Disney movie on an iPad really low and they say, we're going to play the quiet game for a few minutes? No, I don't care, as long as you get down there and you be quiet. I don't want kids running around throwing paint against the wall at that time of day. 17, 18, 19-year-old is, what are we dealing with now? Phones, right? Phones. During the lockdown, teachers and students do not open the door for anybody. Myself, members of my team, with members of the administrative staff, we the police, when we feel it's safe and appropriate, will be pulling them out of lockdown, and they will be coming with us as a team and going door to door to, we will make entry into that classroom. Similar to what happened on Tuesday. We went to the classrooms and we went in and we said, hey, is everybody okay in here? That prevents just a trick or something like that. We want to be the ones that come in and we say, hey, we're making entry, we're the ones opening the door, we're the ones saying hi, and I want the kids to see our face so it gives them that peace of mind. I know it's an intense situation. I know it's something that nobody wants to go through, but I feel it wholeheartedly in myself that when I open the door and the kids see me first or they see one of my teammates first, they can sit there and say, all right, we're okay. We're okay. Go ahead. I'll back one more. Uh-oh. Did you break it? Oh, there you go. Examples of this could be, again, this is all over the country, so dangerous animal in the building, we have bigger problems. An intruder, angry or violent parent or student, report of a weapon, an active assailant. These all come situation pending, right? This isn't just cookie cutter, every single time it's going to happen. No. The situation is going to dictate, facts and circumstances surrounding the individual situation are going to kind of dictate how we respond. If there's somebody walking through the school with a firearm, yeah, we're going to be in a lockdown. Okay, we are going to be in a lockdown. Controlling students' cell phone use. And this is something that I've been working on this year. The school has something called bandwidth, and I'm not going to get into this stuff too technologically because I'm not the expert on this stuff. But I get the bare bones facts. There's a bandwidth, which means there's only so much this Wi-Fi system can take. If 900 high school kids decide to stream TikTok while they're in lockdown, we're going to have a problem. We're not going to be able to send a text, right? There's that blue line that everybody's seen where the text is going, and it stops. I don't want that. So one of the things that I tell the teachers is, when you're in your classroom in a lockdown, take a deep breath, compose yourself, look at your kids and say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, text your parents. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, text your parents. Control the bandwidth. Hey, mom, dad, love you, we're in a lockdown. I'll text you back in 20 minutes, 10 minutes. We're doing that to preserve the ability to communicate, one, with one another, and two, with other people we have to, because in these critical incidents, communication is so key. So key for us, for you, and don't get me wrong, a lot of the guys I work with and girls I work with, their kids are in the system too, so they want to know the answers pretty fast as well. And we want to get them to them, but we want to make sure the information we give you is stone cold accurate. And it might take a little bit of time, because as you can probably imagine, if in a situation like Tuesday during a lockdown, this building is pretty big to clear and to feel comfortable knowing that we're good to come out of lockdown. It takes a little bit of time. Now, I spoke to the teachers right after this happened too. And they had similar concerns as I can imagine you probably have, which is information we wanted. And I was trying to explain to the teachers, with us, when we're going through the building, time might be moving a little bit faster for us, but when you're the parent or you're the teacher, I understand seconds last hours. I understand minutes take time. And that's in the back of my mind while we're doing this. All right, we got to get this moving, we got to get this stuff out, but I want to make sure it's accurate, and that takes some time. Good. Evacuate. This is called when there is a need to move students or faculty from one location to another for safety reasons. Teachers and students move quickly in an orderly fashion. Could be a gas leak, a bomb threat. If there's a violent event here, there's almost all, and I mean a significantly violent event here, not like a fight in the hallway. I mean, if there's something where we would have to consider a section of the school a potential crime scene, we are going to pick up and we're going to move to an off-site location. Situation's going to depend and dictate where that is. Go ahead. Police-led evacuations, that's something that you probably, if you watch TV and you see one of these incidents, the news does a good job of showing the kids walking out with their hands up in the air, and they have that, they have a way of kind of showing how kids will come out. It could happen, may not. We might have them come right out, and depending, again, situations and facts and circumstances are going to dictate how we handle that. That's just the potential. Shelter. Again, unless the reservoir seems to come up and have a tsunami coming over this building, I'm hoping we'll be okay with this one, but it's just a protective action that are needed at a base for a threat or hazard, tornado, earthquake, hazmat situation, wildfire, flooding, severe weather. I mean, we're pretty fortunate in the Northeast, maybe a pretty big snowstorm here or there, but nothing where I think, knock on wood, could be crazy. Drop, cover, hold, get to high ground or seal the room. I mean, we're not putting sandbags in front of doors, like I said. I think we'd be well ahead of that, or school would be out by that point. The biggest takeaway from this SRP, and when I say SRP, Standard Response Protocol, is we use 5 terms. It is plain language. It's simple. And like I said earlier, we in law enforcement, we look over these things across the country, and we know that during hectic situations like this, the fine motor skills, some of the things can really go out the window, especially for people who may not have been preparing for this. They didn't expect it. You never know when it's going to happen or come. So when it does, you got to be able to react a little bit, and the mindset has to be there. So the 5 plain language terms are easy to understand. Everybody in the school knows lockdown, and I can say that because they all knew what to do a couple weeks ago. Secure, hold, evacuate, shelter. Similar 5 terms. And a true lockdown, like I said earlier, only admin and law enforcement will release students and faculty. The biggest takeaway from all this is locks, lights, out of sight. Those are the terms that they hear, the kids hear, locks, lights, out of sight. It's a quick little jingle that the Standard Response Protocol is built on with the I love you guys, and the kids all know it. The teachers all know it, and they just say it. It says it over the PA, locks, lights, out of sight, and it's just, I missed the first 2, okay, lock the door, lights out, get away from the windows. Simple, simple stuff. Studies have proven that the safest place to be during these situations is behind a locked door. It is behind a locked door. Okay, we don't want kids running out of the building and taking off when this happens. Because you can imagine from our standpoint, when we're coming in to try and find the threat, we don't want kids flooding by us. That's going to cause an issue. We don't want that. You look at these things all across the country, and they love you guys do. They have people they send out all over the place. And they will tell you, too, the safest place for your child to be in an intense situation like this is behind a locked door. They are up here. They are up here doing the right thing, sitting in the corner. Because behind a locked door causes time. Time is our friend. Police. Time helps us with this. If the locked door causes time, for God forbid a person to go to the next door and the next door and the next door, it gives us more time to get here, closer, closer, closer. It's our friend. You'll see this all over the school. It isn't, I think at this point it's in every classroom. I'm pretty certain it is. It's all over my door. This is the basic facts. These are in all the classrooms. So like I said, it's just like a cheat sheet. When I have the open house nights, I print out like 150 of them. I leave them out on the main table out there. This is what's in the classroom. The kids can see it every day. Teachers see it every day. But other things that we do. Moving on from the Standard Response Protocol. Those are the 5 big things, the starting 5 that I call it. If you have questions on those, we can discuss it after. But I also wanted to talk to you guys about other things that the Burlington Police Department does to interact with your kids on a daily basis, or in some of these situations, a monthly or yearly basis. But we have a lot of units here, and a lot of our units interact with the schools. Now, it was brought to my attention that some of you guys may have noticed that there's been police cars following your school buses. That's not because we're looking at the bus driver. That's not because we think they're doing something wrong. It is not, okay? It is because we want to make sure that the kids are safe. I tell you what, you're probably all just like me in this situation. You're coming down Wynn Street and you see the bus coming the other way, and you see the flashing lights, you're like, uh-oh, when's that thing gonna come out? When's it gonna come out? Or if there's somebody in front of you, you're saying, oh, please stop, please stop, please stop, right? But that's why we may follow them, just to make sure everybody's getting on okay. just to make sure somebody doesn't think, oh, I'm in a hurry like everybody else in the world, and they want to fly by the stop sign because they think they can beat it. That's why we're following that bus. And the kids like it. They wave to us. They say hi, especially little guys. They think it's awesome, okay? Our traffic unit does a presentation every year. They show a video to the little guys and girls, and we drill with the students at Marshall Simons Middle School and BHS 2 to 3 times a year. We just did one, I think like a week and a half ago. So what we'll do is we'll have the buses come up out back here at the high school, and I think some of the kids think it's fun and some of them think it's a headache at the high school age. You kind of get a mix of both. And you open the back door and some of them, they jump out and they get a good laugh. And it is serious, but at the same time, it's repetition for the kids. And they know that, God forbid, in a chaotic situation, they're going to default to how they learned. They're going to say, oh, I did this before. Same thing with the SRP. Oh, I've done this before. Detective Lyons talked about this before. My teacher talked about it. They're getting a repetition in their head so that, God forbid it happens, they're going to default and do what they want to do, and it showed on Tuesday. Police presence. Now, when I was a kid and a student here, there was police officers that walked around. I had Officer Fournier. He did this job for a long time. And I knew him as a police officer, and then I worked with him. And when I came in here a year and a half ago, I wanted to make it so that some of our newer officers, who may not be from Burlington, become familiar with this school. It's very important to me and to the department. We want the guys and girls that when they are new here, when we have a new officer, they come to me and I spend some time with them going through the school, and they go through the other schools with Officer Colicchio and Officer Murphy. So the first time that they're coming in here, God forbid it's an emergency, isn't the first time they've seen those walls. We call them directed patrols and park and walks. So if your son or daughter texts you and says, Mom, there's 2 cops walking around in the hallway, they could just be walking around in the hallway. It doesn't mean something bad's happening. And I kind of want to change. I don't want the kids to think just because the police are walking around that something bad's going on. They just want to say hi. We want to see the kids too. And in my thought process is, if a kid sees an officer one time and says hi to that officer one time, and God forbid we have to go to that kid's house at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, that kid feels that much better. I've seen him before. Or I've seen her before. Or I know him. This is Johnny, this is Sammy, whoever it is. If I can increase that chance to make that kid feel better in a time where he probably isn't going to feel good, I'm going to do it. And that's where we get with these park and walks and these directed patrols. It's just kind of the commonality of officers walking around. One of the things we created last year when I came on board was I partnered with the Burlington Public School Department. We created the district-wide school safety committee. So we are working, and that team is made up of members of my team over here and members of the Burlington Public School Department. And what we do is we meet monthly, every month to 6 weeks, and we go through every school. And we find things that we need to improve on, or this school's intercom's not working in this section. All right, how are we going to fix it? All right, well, this camera's not working. How do we fix it? This door is every school. And we go through them with a fine-tooth comb. And we do it pretty often. Now, we can't prevent everything from happening, but we're going to do our damnedest to try. Good. With all that being said, I know I threw a lot at you. There's also a social media side of this presentation. I'm not going to give it tonight. We're going to do it later on in the school year, and we have 2 information technology guys that are way above and beyond me in that stuff. So they are the specialists in that stuff. I'm the SRP guy, and they're going to do a presentation at the end of the year, or more towards the middle to the end of the year, on social media safety for your kids. As I'm sure you can imagine, as I see it all the time, social media is a very common thing amongst children, and the safety component of it needs to be kind of reiterated, I think. From us to you, we can give you guys anything you need regarding safety tips and stuff like that, and that is going to take place later on in the year. But I did want you guys to understand what we do on a daily basis here. I'm here every day. SRO Colicchio is at the middle school every day, and we are 1 phone call away from the elementary schools every day. SRO Colicchio functions and moves throughout those schools every day as well, but that's something that we do here. and I am a common face amongst the teachers and the kids, so I want to be a common face amongst you guys as well. So I'm going to pass this off to Mrs. Concession here, and we'll hold our Q&As until after her presentation so we can all do it at once. Thank you.
Is this one working? All right. Hi, everybody. I am Christine Concession. I am the Director of Mental Health for Burlington Public Schools, also a proud parent of 2 elementary students, and it is an honor to work with all of the Burlington Police Department. We work very closely together. We meet almost monthly to talk about school safety and ensuring that our students feel safe. But part of that also comes into play of how are we ensuring we're doing some preventative and proactive supports for students to create a culture in our schools where there's a sense of belonging, where they feel like they're welcomed, where they have support systems in place. So I'm definitely not going to be as long as Detective Lyons, but I did want to kind of help bridge that connection of why I'm here as a mental health provider and director and school safety. So to help kind of get everyone on the same page, social emotional learning, which you probably have heard a lot about in the last year or more, is integrated into Burlington Public Schools, but there's been a long history of research behind social emotional learning, and some of the research statistics really point to a connection to school safety. So as you will see, there's research behind that shows social emotional learning actually mitigates violence. So it teaches students those self-regulation skills, problem-solving skills, really social regulations, which are all key in preventing school violence. School-based universal SEL programs promote positive attitudes in the school, really decreasing behavioral issues for students, and supportive classrooms correlate with long-term positive impacts for students. Programs of SEL foster a sense of safety for both our staff and for our students, and really just overall foster a positive school climate. Research has also shown that SEL promotes positive school culture, which again really relates to creating that sense of safety for students, psychological safety, which hopefully will lead to obviously physical safety. We want students to come into the schools and feel like they have a sense of belonging, feel like they are part of the community, that they are adding to the community, that they have adults in the building, including our SROs, with whom they have strong, healthy relationships. And social emotional learning really does that. It helps to increase student safety, helps to increase those supportive school climates in our classrooms and our district at whole. And it helps with the perception of students with their teachers, really builds a different kind of connection for students with their teachers beyond just the academics. Why do we have so much mental health in school? We're going to talk a little bit about what we have for our SEL and our mental health resources, but again, the more we can do to promote early and universal mental health services for our students and staff and all community members, the more preventative and proactive we're going to be in decreasing any issues related to behavioral incidents or violence. And you'll see some statistics up here from the National Institute of Health or the National Association of School Psychologists, or NAMI, but really early and universal mental health services do promote healthier long-term effects for children and adults, decreasing violence, decreasing incarceration rates, decreasing instances of behavioral issues that could lead to issues that would result in us having to use some of the standard response protocol that you might have heard of. So how do we approach this in Burlington? So if you came to our SEL night last year, you would know that last year we adopted a SEL curriculum called Wayfinder. So we've been doing social emotional learning in our classrooms for many years. We've been doing social emotional learning probably before it was called social emotional learning. Here in education, we like to give things new names every couple of years, so we like to keep things fresh. For a long time, we were doing responsive classroom. For the parents in the room, you probably have heard of the morning meetings. That is a part of responsive classroom. We really wanted to be more explicit in our skill teaching of SEL skills, just like math or literacy or any of those academic skills. we really need to teach students these skills. We need to teach them how to problem solve. We need to teach them how to regulate their emotions. We need to teach them how to have goals and to set goals and achieve those. So we adopted the Wayfinder social emotional learning curriculum. In our grades K through 5, students have an SEL block every single week. It's about a 40 to 45 minute block. If your student is in the middle school, they are accessing this curriculum during their advisory block, usually on Thursdays. Sometimes it's twice a week, depending on the lesson. And this year, we have moved into the high school, so it's new in the high school this year. We are embedding it into some of our core curriculum areas, so we're working with our English department heads, our history, our health and wellness, and our counseling department. And we're also piloting a purposeful leadership course, which really hones in on some of the social emotional learning skills for our high school students. So we are really K through 12 at this time, and continuing to expand and trying to make sure that we're highlighting all of the wonderful work that our teachers are doing every single day. Really, social emotional learning is every interaction that you have with another person. It is being able to work together. It's being able to problem solve. It's that collaborative work in the classroom. It's the friendships. It's everything that you have going on in your life. And we always talk about how SEL is not just a child-driven event. SEL is for everyone. So as adults, we are also continuing to work on our social emotional learning skills. So we've actually had a lot of our staff trainings around social emotional learning and staff being able to do some social emotional learning training themselves. This is just a brief overview of Wayfinder. So it does follow the CASEL model for social emotional learning, which looks at self-awareness, social awareness, relationship skills, responsible decision-making, and self-management. They do build their lessons upon each other, so the students really start at a young age of having a sense of belonging, and as they go through the curriculum, we move into purpose and then goal setting. And I'm happy to share any more information about Wayfinder or SEL in general if you have questions. In regards to our counseling and mental health services, every single school in the district has school counselors. So every single one of your children has an assigned school counselor. As of last year, and thanks to the town and to the school committee, every single school in the district also has at least one school adjustment counselor or social worker. The middle school and high school has more, just based on student body population. So there's 3 school adjustment counselors at both the middle school and the high school. And then every single school has a school psychologist. So we have a wide variety of counseling staff at every single school. We also have a district-wide social emotional behavioral coach who travels throughout the different schools in the district and consults and helps the school counselors and the teachers on certain situations. And then you also have me, the director of mental health. So we have a pretty extensive network of internal support. But we also partner with many different agencies to offer different kinds of supports to community members, to families, and to students. So here in town, we have Burlington Youth and Family Services, which is a town-based mental health agency that is available to any resident, located right in the town center. We partner with them extensively to offer services to students. They do come in and do some speaking events for our students, and we work extensively to make sure that we are working collaboratively with them. We also, and any resident in Burlington can use the interface referral system. Hopefully you guys have maybe heard of this, but it's open to any resident of any age from birth into older ages. So it is a free, confidential referral line based out of William James College. You can call, you do speak to a licensed clinician when you call, and you can give them your information of what you're seeking. So you can call and say, I'm seeking services for myself, my child. I'm looking for a therapist within this many miles of this gender who specializes in this and who accepts my insurance. And what they are known for is that they will find you an available intake appointment within 4 weeks. It will be shorter if you are open to telehealth, as everything has moved. A lot of stuff has moved to telehealth, but if you are looking for in-person services, they will find you something within 4 weeks. And that's free. It's open to any individual of any age. It doesn't have to be school-age children. We also partner with Cartwheel Care. Cartwheel Care is a telehealth counseling services available to students in grades 3 through 12. So we contract with them. They can provide individualized services for students during the school day or in the evenings. They also offer parent guidance, so they can do sessions for students and then have sessions with parents to help during difficult situations. We've had very positive feedback around Cartwheel Care and the engagement. They are all licensed clinicians within Massachusetts and have had a really positive interaction. We have 100 slots every single year. We've used 100 slots every single year, so we've used every single referral that we've had for the last 2 years, but it is an option that's open to our students and to any parents and guardians who are interested. This year, we are excited to be piloting the collaborative care model, which is just here at the high school for right now. It is a model that includes a case manager, a behavioral health clinician, a consulting psychiatrist, and a nurse practitioner. It is insurance blind this year, so we will accept anybody, regardless of your insurance or if you are uninsured. And it was really meant not just to access behavioral health services, but also to help care management. So if you are a student or have a student who is possibly struggling with attendance or have seen a behavioral shift, maybe you already have a maybe you already see a clinician at a different agency, but you're looking for help finding a psychiatrist, or you see a clinician at one agency and a psychiatrist at one place, and you have your school-based people here, and you also have a group over here. The care manager will help coordinate all of your services and communications so that everyone's working collaboratively together to meet the students' needs. So we are very excited. We just launched last week, and we're hopeful that if this pilot goes well, that we will be able to expand it to other schools in the district. For a long time, the schools have also been working with McLean Hospital, so they have a school consultation team. McLean has been coming in and working with our school-based staff for probably over 10 years now. They come in on a monthly basis and offer training to the school counselors, adjustment counselors, school psychologists. We get trained in different modalities, cognitive behavioral therapy, DBT. So we really try to keep our staff up to date and learning new techniques to interact with children and to provide evidence-based services. They also will consult with us and offer supports if we run into a situation where we don't have the appropriate referral source for a student. So we're working very hard to make sure that we are supporting kids and meeting them where they're at and their families where they're at to get them the supports that they need. This is my contact information. And we're gonna open it up to any questions you may have. So that is the last slide. Anyone have any questions for Detective Lyons or for me or?